Okay, I am showing 11 o'clock. Stand, I can't see everybody, sorry. I'm showing 11 o'clock, so we're going to go ahead and get started. My name is Aaron Bonner, and I've been appointed by the Natural Resources Commission to serve as a hearing officer for this rule proposal. Please make sure you sign in at the front table if you haven't already. There's also, there were a few copies of the rule language available at the door. I'm not sure if any are left at this point. If I'm not speaking loud enough also, please tell me, and I'll make sure to project a little bit more. We'll be recording this hearing through the VBrick and Microsoft Teams platforms, and that'll help me whenever I prepare my summary of the meeting and my officer's report to prepare that. The first public comment period for this rule closes at 11:59 p.m. tonight. If you have a comment to make after the close of the public hearing, that is after this meeting is over, the only way is to submit it by U.S. mail or through the Commission's rulemaking docket, and that's on the website. It's www.in.gov/nrc/rules/rulemaking-docket. It's a long address. If you need that later, come up and ask me and I'll be happy to write that down for you, okay? Should the Commission receive substantive public comments regarding the rule, Indiana law regarding rulemaking requires a second 30-day public comment period and a second public meeting to be held. Please monitor the Commission's rulemaking webpage on the Commission's website for any information about a future public hearing. After the comment period is closed, I will be preparing a hearing officer's report for the consideration of the whole Natural Resources Commission at a public commission meeting. The report will include the following: an overview summary of the proposed rule, a summary of each comment received, the division's response, that is the division of the DNR, the oil and gas, response to public comments, and recommendations with respect to final adoption of the proposed rule. It is not known today when this rule will be considered by the Commission at a public meeting. The schedule for Commission meetings is posted on the Commission's website, and the agenda for the meeting is usually posted within a week of the meeting. Please monitor the NRC website, that is the Commission website, for more information and for the meeting agenda in the future. The rule under consideration today adds a section to 312 IAC, that's Article 30 is what it adds, to the Indiana Administrative Code regarding how one may participate in carbon sequestration projects. Please remember the purpose of this meeting is to receive comments. I will not be answering questions during the session. Please try to keep your comments brief. I would request around 5 minutes if possible so that everyone who wants to make a comment will have the opportunity to do so. We're broadcasting this meeting through the Microsoft Teams application and through VBrick, as I mentioned. There may be people joining us remotely through those platforms. If you are joining through those platforms, those virtual platforms, please use the hand raise function on Microsoft Teams if you want to make a comment. I'll monitor the online portion of the meeting, and I'll make sure that you have an opportunity to speak as well if you're calling in. When you come up to make a comment or when you submit a comment through Microsoft Teams, please state your first and last names and the county or city of your residence before making the comment for the record. If you're speaking on behalf of an organization, please also identify the organization. Please direct your comments toward this table up front, not toward the audience. These are comments made to the Commission. If you have already submitted a comment to the Commission, your comment has already been registered and will be considered. Additional comments from the same individual will not be counted twice. However, I will make sure that people who have not submitted a comment have the opportunity to speak first today. If you've already submitted a comment and you wish to make a public comment, you can fill out those cards, and if we have time at the end of the meeting or near the end of the meeting, I'll make sure that you have an opportunity to speak as well. Okay, I just want to make sure that everybody has a chance to comment, no matter how they're doing that. With that, I'll have a seat and I'll allow anyone who wants the floor. I'll go ahead and call your names. These are just handed to me in an order, so I don't have any particular way that I've organized it. So, with that, Ben Inskeep, I'm going to go ahead and come up, please. And you can please state your first, last name, organization if applicable, and your city and county of residence.
Hello, my name is Ben Inskeep, and I am Program Director at the Citizens Action Coalition, or CAC. I'm a resident of Marion County in Indiana. CAC is Indiana's oldest and largest consumer and environmental advocacy organization. I'll keep my comments brief today because CAC, along with our partners, are submitting detailed written comments as well. CAC is concerned that the proposed rules do not provide adequate protection of public health, safety, and the environment. There is also a lack of transparency and insufficient opportunity for meaningful public engagement under the proposed rules. DNR should modify its proposed rules to address these deficiencies and ensure all Hoosiers are protected and hold additional public hearings to solicit input from Hoosiers in other parts of the state with notable CCS projects. Our concern with the proposed rules are both procedural and substantive in nature. We are alarmed and outraged that DNR created a secret industry-only working group to craft these proposed rules. DNR should not be letting industry write its own rules, while shutting out residents and property owners whose lives and livelihoods are on the line. The inappropriate process used by DNR to write these rules creates the appearance of impropriety and fosters mistrust of our government officials. We have numerous concerns about the process DNR will go through to approve the certificates of authority for CO2 pipelines and permits for CO2 storage. The proposed rules do not provide adequate opportunity for public comments or even require the DNR to consider public comments in approving or denying applications. The proposed rules also create deadlines for DNR when responding to applications. But in several of these instances, these deadlines are not part of the underlying statute, are arbitrary, and unnecessarily remove DNR discretion. Shockingly, if DNR is unable to meet these short timelines in the rules, the CCS application would be automatically approved, even if it put Hoosiers' lives in danger. DNR should remove these deadlines that tie its hands and remove its flexibility. The proposed rules should also be modified to include much stronger safety provisions to protect impacted communities. The transportation and storage of carbon dioxide poses significant public health and safety risks. Current federal regulations of carbon dioxide pipelines are outdated and contain many glaring loopholes. State regulation should address these gaps. For example, DNR should ensure pipeline and sequestration owners and operators provide first responders and residents with the training and equipment they need to respond to an emergency. DNR should also require that all data relied upon for demonstrating geologic storage suitability be site-specific. For example, data from a test well located miles away from the actual injection site should not be the basis for determining suitability of geologic injection and storage at the site. Site-specific, detailed geologic data is necessary for establishing realistic baseline conditions of potential reservoir and seal integrity. Finally, we urge DNR to hold additional public hearings on its proposed CCS rules to foster more meaningful public engagement. Specifically, we recommend public meetings be held in Terre Haute and Whiting because these are near the two locations of the most prominent CCS projects planned in Indiana. This meeting here today during business hours on a Thursday in a very rural part of the state far from population centers and far from the most notable CCS projects that have been proposed is inadequate. We urge you to take these comments into consideration. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I don't see anybody online making a comment, so I'll go ahead and call the next in-person commenter. I have Jeff Steinbron. Again, please, first and last name, if you represent an organization in city and county.
Jeffrey Steinbron. I'm with the Range Line Farmers over in West Terre Haute. And in the rule that talks about pore space, there is no pore space. The underground piece that's underneath the shale is a dolomite, which is calcium carbonate, magnesium carbonate matrix. And there, any place that says there is a void, it is actually filled with brine. So it's got a total dissolved solids that's on the order of the ocean water. And so when the carbon dioxide touches water, it turns into carbonic acid. So when it gets down there, it's going to create pore space by dissolving the dolomite. So when you add pounds mass of this supercritical fluid, it's going to raise the pressure underneath, which will basically raise the rock until it's at its breaking point. So back on from the EPA's own data of a report to Congress on the 28th of October of 2022, there was only 6 type 6 wells that were approved for construction. 2 of them got constructed, the other 4 still have not. And so there was other places that they were considering their applications, but both these wells are near Decatur, Illinois, under the auspices of Archer Daniels Midland. Both those wells are leaking. So of all the type 6 wells in the United States that are operating, both of them are leaking, 100% leak rate. They've had to plug both of their monitor wells. So now we have injection sites that have no monitoring. You can't dig another well through there because you're going to have a free flow space of all that garbage that's underneath. And they're also in the Wabash Carbon Solutions Type 6 well application. They're quoting this industrial waste that's coming from Chicago, liquid industrial waste being put underneath that same capstone. So there is none known chemical reactivity of whatever they put underneath there, and you're going to put in something that's going to get the pH down to somewhere around 2.9. That's what's going to cause the carbonates to be dissolved. You have 3 layers of that dolomite over there in Terre Haute, and each one is right above the dolomite that they're putting in at 4,400 to 5,000 feet under the ground. The one above it is fractured in multiple places. So you're going to have vertical leakage going upward because you are raising the pressure, whatever's going in there, and they're planning on having a 5 times injection rate than what they did over in Decatur that caused the leaks. The other problem is the metallurgy of the piping that's in there. They're using a 13 chromium as opposed to super 13 chromium. That is going to be subject to chloride stress pitting, chloride stress corrosion, and it's going to have a brittle fracture problem. And then they're putting the top 100, 200 feet of the pipe has a tensile strength to 2005 psi. The pressure down there at 5,000 feet is at 2,400 psi. When you put it in there at this rate of injection, you're going to raise the pressure between 500 and 1,000 pounds per square inch higher than it is. Yes, they're using Bernoulli's equation so that you have the density of the fluid times the gravity times the height of the column to get that differential pressure, because fluids flow due to a difference in pressure. The injection rate they're claiming they're going to have, when it raises 500 pounds above that, you're at 2,900 pounds down below, which means you're going to have 2,400 psi up top. Well, 2,400, last time I checked, is still bigger than 2005. It's going to burst the top of the well. So any water that's donated to this process, because they have to cool down there, when they pressurize it up, it raises the temperature of it significantly. So it's going to, what they're advertising is going to be 20% more water usage than they have right now. There's a lot of aquifers that people have their wells drilled in that's only 10 gallons per minute now. Those are going to be drained because the refresh rate on that is not sufficient. So my question is, who is going to pay for them to dig deeper wells? Because the last time my cousin dug his well, it cost him $35,000 to get down 600 feet. Which is what's going to happen out there. You have multiple wells that are going to need to be redug. Who is going to pay for that? Is that going to be on the backs of the farmers? It's got to be on the people who are trying to grab the more water for their operation, which does not need to happen. Because any carbon dioxide that's being stolen from the atmosphere ceases to be available for photosynthesis. If we had to get the Oklahoma State University Extension Service did a carbon dioxide view on a closed greenhouse. So when they just sealed up the greenhouse at normal carbon dioxide parts per million of 400, by noon it was down to 115. When you get below 200 parts per million, you can't grow crops. So then they started adding additional carbon dioxide into the atmosphere inside this closed greenhouse. They found that the crop production went up and up and up until it got to 1,250. Right now, our average carbon dioxide of our atmosphere is 430. So we can triple the amount of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, and it will still grow crops at a much more rapid rate. It doubles the rate that we can produce. And the other piece of this is that they looked at the population of the world. It doubled in size in 61 years. Same time, the carbon dioxide only went up 65 parts per million. but the crop production tripled. It was a 3.2 times the rate of crop production. So if the atmosphere would get between 600 and 700 parts per million carbon dioxide, I'm convinced we could feed the entire world. Because of what happened during that 61 years, even though the population doubled, the starvation factor went down from 23.6% down to 13.6. So almost half the starvation just by having 65 parts per million carbon dioxide greater in the atmosphere. Carbon dioxide in the atmosphere is good. Carbon dioxide going underground is bad because it forms carbonic acid, which is going to dissolve the rock down below. It's going to fracture, it's going to go above, and we have proof of that because both wells have done this over in Decatur, Illinois with Archer Daniels Midland. And now we're going to allow another company that's never done this before. Archer Daniels Midland never did that before either. And looking at their Type 6 well application, it's like they copied and pasted what Archer Daniels Midland did. The other piece of all that research that's implanted in that application is they use 2D seismic, which means two-dimensional seismic with their waves going into the land. The industry standard is 4D, which is three-dimensional seismic waves plus time lapse. That's the fourth dimension. If they do not do a 4D seismic survey of all this, they're not going to find all the fractures because they have vertical leakage to get up to the capstone, and because there's holes in that capstone and fractures, that's why it's leaking up and it's dissolving the monitor well pipe because it's acidic and it's got lots of chlorides in it, and that total dissolved solids is going into the lowermost underground drinking water. And that because your pressure gradient is going to be felt all the way up. And so it's going to push it above. Once it contaminates the lowest level, it's going to contaminate the next because the pressure is risen. They're going to put it in at 4 times the rate and twice as long, which means with 2 wells, that's 20 times as much as what got put into the well over a 3-year period in Decatur, Illinois. And that was the second well that leaked. The first one that leaked is because they were putting it in a much more rapid rate in the second well that they started in 2015. And so now they have no monitoring. And the folks over there at the Wabash Carbon Solutions is not interested in doing a post-injection monitoring because they're putting their monitoring well way too close. It's going to be dissolved way before the 10 years, and by law, by the U.S. code, it's supposed to be a 50-year survey.
I'm going to ask you to conclude if you don't mind.
Yes. And so the key piece here is the only way to keep the underground water, drinking water, from being contaminated is to not inject any carbon dioxide. Thank you.
I still don't see anybody, see that anybody rather join online. Let me double check. Okay. Nope. So I will go to the next person here. I have Dottie Warwick. Is that how it's pronounced? Warwick? Okay. Your first and last name, your organization if applicable, and your city and county of residence.
My name is Dottie Warwick. I'm from Newton County, and I'm a great-grandmother, and I'm here because I'm a landowner, and I've been in touch with the mayor of Satarsha, Mississippi since June of 2023, and when I talked to her, she told me the experience she had where a pipeline exploded within a mile of her house, and she was outside with her dogs. It was about 7 o'clock at night, and the dogs ran to the house, but she got to where she couldn't breathe, and she made it to her back porch and collapsed.
Can you move that microphone up to her voice?
Oh, So, oh, thank you. So anyway, she collapsed at her back porch, and her husband saw the dogs, but no Michelle. So he finally found her, and he had to pull her in the house. And when I got done talking to her, I was so emotional, I was sobbing. Because BP of Whiting told me on April of 23 at one of their open houses, I mentioned Mississippi leak because I hadn't read the article yet, and one of the representatives says to me, oh, just the backhoe hit a pipe. Well, that's not true. So anyway, my dad was a plumber from the late 1940s to the mid-1980s for Whiting Plumbing and Heating, and pipes do not last. 10 years, probably less. So, and then there's a thing called running fracture, or running ductile fracture, and that's when a CO2 pipeline can split open like a zipper, like 15 miles, and all that CO2 will come out. It'll wipe out thousands of people. And Ron DeSantis of Florida has a video out that he says that this CCS is a scam, and he will not allow it in Florida. So I do not know why Indiana lawmakers can even fathom that this is a safe thing. And in 1968, there was an earthquake in southern Illinois, and 309 miles in South Hammond. As a child, me and my sister were home alone, and it shook our brick home, a loud noise, and on my mom's buffet, she had a glass punch bowl with glass cups hanging down, and they started clinging to the bowl. It shook the house. And that was 309 miles away. So if an earthquake, can split these pipes open, look at the damage it'll do. And also, there's a good YouTube video by Robert F. Kennedy, and it's called The Pipeline Deception, and it's about Iowa farmers and why we shouldn't be doing this. And also, aquifers can be in danger. This is Illinois, and this is Indiana, the Tees River, and I'm not sure how you say that. Mahomet, yeah, in Illinois. And I believe they have a moratorium on, so at least some of these governors, they're not worried about the money. They're trying to protect the citizens and our water and our land. And I'm a landowner too. And I don't think eminent domain should be given to a private company. And I think that's about it. So, well, anyway, I think our elected officials should say this isn't a good thing and we should just ban it in Indiana. So I don't know how to convince anybody to do this for our future. And China and Russia are probably laughing at us because we're more concerned about materialistic money and don't care about land, and our water and our future for our grandkids and great-grandkids. So, well, thank you.
Thank you. Again, I don't see anybody having joined online, so I'll go to David Turflinger. Again, his first and last name, organization if applicable, and city and county residence.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. My name is Dave Turflinger. I'm a retired pipeliner. I spent 42 years in the pipeline industry, the last 10 of which I was a corrosion technician, and part of my job was to do non-destructive testing on pipelines. I'm a member of the Wabash County, Indiana County Council. More importantly, I'm the grandfather to 12, great-grandfather to 4, and I'd like to thank you for your service. Carbon capture safety versus pipeline. Okay, we got 150 years of hazardous liquid pipeline experience, and PIMS has been seriously underfunded for a number of years, but a pipeline being horizontal And with devices at each end, you can run a tool through it and inspect it for damage, and depending on what you're pumping and the age of the pipeline, the materials, you are required to run a smart pig and look for damage at required intervals. So when you take this, I'm not here to talk about carbon sequestration pipelines. Their accident rate is well documented. What I'm talking about is the well, because in our county, Poets partnered with Vault 404, and they want to, at their ethanol plants, put down carbon sequestration wells. So the difference between a pipeline and a well is one's horizontal and one's vertical. And in my conversations with them, the devices that are made to go in a horizontal position and you put them in there vertically, in the industry, if we have a pipeline release, it's called an uncontrolled release. It wasn't planned. A farmer hit it with a plow or, cathodic protection issue. So when you drill a hole 4,000 feet deep, okay, and you're using a compressor, not a pump, that's a misnomer. They're using a compressor. They're compressing a gas into a liquid and injecting it 4,000 feet below the cap rock. This is the proposal up there, okay? Number one, how are you going to seal it? Number two, they want to drill 2 more wells through the cap rock for monitoring. What are you going to do with it? How is that any different than an uncontrolled pipeline release when you inject it down there below our aquifer? We have 3 aquifers. We had a well specialist that was supposed to be here today to talk about that, but he wasn't able to make it. So, like the other gentleman says, if this stuff eats its way through, it contaminates our water supply. And right here in your rules, it says the Safe Drinking Water Act to regulate underground injection as part of the Safe Water Drinking Act. Okay? To me, it's not if this thing leaks, it's when it leaks. The problem for the state of Indiana is the 45Q tax abatements go away after 12 years, and once the wells are capped under the proposal and the DNR inspects it, then the state and all the taxpayers are responsible if it leaks after that. Carbon sequestration is a bad idea. The only difference, I've read the contract that was offered to the farmers, okay? You can't drill a water well deeper than 350 feet if you sign for this carbon sequestration. They say that there's an extra fee if they were going to bring it in from outside the county. They have no plans to do that, but yet the contract, they've been less than upfront with us, and this is just a bad idea. My question is, what's going to happen if the government, look what's happened in Illinois already, and these companies just say, well, we're not making any money because they took the subsidies away and they filed bankruptcy, open up next week, and they can still make ethanol out of corn, which is a great thing. This is nothing but taxpayer money being used against taxpayers. So like I said, when you put this thing vertically and you're using compressor, there's going to be debris and condensation. And they say they're putting check valves in them. How are you going to test the check valves? The only way to test a check valve is to shut the flow off and let the pressure on one side push back and monitor the pressure and see if it's sealing. So what if it doesn't seal? We've all heard of the Titanic. We've all heard of the Space Shuttle Columbia. We've all heard of the Space Shuttle Challenger. The Deepwater Horizon, a 16-inch, super drilling rig, 16-inch pipe buried in the earth, bringing crude oil out, and the wind blows the thing over in a storm, and we got 16-inch pipe spewing crude oil in the Gulf for over a month before they could get it shut off. Why? Maintenance wasn't done correctly. Like I said, I'm going to cut it short here because there's a lot of other people that want to talk. We need to have a lot more hearings and a lot more study, and we need to follow the Benjamins. There's been a lot of contributions to re-election campaigns to people that are in charge. The DNR's website changed the day after the governor signed an executive order saying that local ordinances weren't gonna dictate policy, we were gonna follow federal rules. Yet we had 400 people showed it right on your website that, hey, we're working on an ordinance, and so here we are. You know, we're 2 hours away from home coming to this. So I would encourage you to have a meeting, because it's going on all over the state. We need to have a meeting up in the northern part of the state, Fort Wayne. You know, we're northeast Indiana. We deserve a meeting up here so that our residents can come and speak on this. And then, I wanted to talk about that. $10 million, there's a bill, says if they put up $10 million, this is at the federal level, but just so you're aware of it, that they can expedite their permit. I can assure you, just cleaning up a hazardous liquids pipeline, because I've been there, you're gonna spend $1 million a day, $10 million to expedite a permit. And like this other gentleman said, just because they got that kind of soil in Illinois doesn't mean that's what we have here. And I'm gonna close with this. There's fracking that's done with carbon. The only difference between carbon sequestration that I can see as a retired pipeliner, between carbon sequestration and carbon fracking, is the vent pipe to bring the water and the salts and the crude oil to the surface, and they recapture the carbon and reuse it. The only thing missing in the drawing is that pipe. You already got the monitoring wells, and again, so in 5 years, our business model, you know, it changed. Now we want to put a vent pipe down because the contract specifically prohibits, they say it's not about mineral rights, strictly prohibits any drilling once you sign for carbon sequestration, 350 feet your limit for water. So if crude oil shows up on your property, you can't sign a contract with Mobil Exxon to come and get that crude oil because it belongs to them. So I urge you, have some more hearings. This is not good for Indiana. It's not good for my grandkids and my great-grandkids. You contaminate the aquifer in the state of Indiana, we all perish. We have to have fresh drinking water, and this is nothing but taxpayer dollars being used to fund oil companies. Thank you.
Now, I still haven't had anybody join virtually, so I'll call up Rosemary Scott. Could you please, again, first and last name, organization if applicable, and city and county of residence.
Thank you for being here. My name's Rosemary Scott. I'm from Terre Haute, Indiana, Vigo County. I'm with a group of concerned citizens that felt like they were never really notified of this project ahead of time, and it was just thrust upon them. So people have, on their own, done a lot of investigating. As was mentioned, one of the things that's glaring are the campaign contributions to people that are supposed to be our representatives. Well, they are our elected representatives, and their connection with these campaign contributions directly to the company or people that would benefit from carbon sequestration. That's troublesome, to say the least. But then that brings us to your input as the Environmental Protection Agency. And I'm a big fan of real words. So when I hear EPA, I think protection. I think that is the basis of the whole reason we're here, is because the EPA is established to protect us. And then when we look at the DNR, you hear the words there, natural resources. I'm struck by that. Our natural resources. We have a department for this. That's how important it is to our citizens. we have a group of people who are instructed to care about our natural resources. I don't think you get any more basic than water. Not to diminish any of these arguments you'll hear today and you've heard, because they are all credible. But when you talk about your water, our water source, think about where we would be. And I guess I've heard so many ways to pronounce Mohammed, aquifer, that I may be saying it wrong, but it's the biggest aquifer, I'm told. The consequences to that, if something were to go wrong, we don't have adjectives to describe that. It would be something that we've never seen before, to deprive this big of an area from water. And it sounds alarmist, but if you are of any age at all, or possibly if you're a younger person and you're a big fan of history, you can point to many, many times where people said, red flag, this may not be the best way to go here. But those warnings weren't heeded, and so we live with the consequences. This is what's happening with carbon sequestration. We want to wait till that happens in Indiana because we have the accidents. We have Satartia, Mississippi. We have our neighbors right across the line from us in Illinois. It isn't some far-fetched scheme that proponents of this would have you think. That brings us to another reason why we're here, guidelines. You have to decide between the pros and the cons. I don't see pros here. I think if we really cared about keeping the air clean, that we would come up with way better ideas than to pollute the ground. And not just any ground. In our situation in Vigo County, we're talking about ground, land that has given and given. It's coal country. It's mined to the point of no return. The idea that this is where you would pick to, let's see what else we can do to this ground, is unreasonable. I really am so disturbed by the fact that we would pick coal country to do something. It almost seems ridiculous. People in the area have been told they aren't educated enough. They don't understand the science. This is pretty insulting. I got an A in 4th grade science, and I'd like to think most of this is very basic and that we are all educable and we can do research and we can read. But the big thing is looking back on disasters, looking back on those red flags that I mentioned. They're all around us. I mean, the reason we're in the predicament we're in is because we have not cared about the environment. We just use the earth. So do we want to not benefit from the knowledge we already have? Do we want to continue this? Do we want to promote this? No, that's the reason you see these people. And before I stop, I really want to say that having this hearing so far away from people that it directly is related to, people that are afraid for their lives, people that can't sleep at night because they can look out their door and there's where the pipeline will be. That's really terrible behavior on the state's part, on the DNR's part. Again, agencies that care about natural resources, well, care about the people that are affected by those resources being damaged. I drove over 3 hours to get here. There are many people that would have been here today, but they couldn't take the day off work. Other people that would have been here, but they couldn't find childcare at such short notice. It appears that maybe this was done so that they don't show up. We have no way of knowing. I was not privy to why this spot was picked. I can tell you that's how it's interpreted by people in Vigo County that I've spoken to anyway. It just seems like if you really wanted to protect us, if you really wanted to protect the environment, that we would have a hearing closer to home where people can really tell you what it feels like. What it feels like to know that the pipeline would be within 2 to 4 miles of your elementary school. To understand the circumstances of a leak where you might not be able to get to 200 or 300 children, where you couldn't call for help from your fire department because with the CO2 leak, their fire engine won't start. The ambulance can't come to get you if the CO2 doesn't allow the engine to run. These are such basic things that I really think if more Hoosiers knew about this, knew about how scary these things can be, that they would all care. I think people need to look at how far are you from any of these proposed areas, Fort Wayne, Terre Haute, wherever you might be. None of us are that far. In Vigo County, we are on the Illinois line. We are definitely not that far from Decatur. This is just something that unintended consequences cannot be mentioned enough. I just hope that you all really pay such strict attention. And also the idea that this is eminent domain, that this is a private company. Where did we go from this is an important thing? It's a highway that needs to benefit our whole area. It's a school. It's a public building that needs to benefit our whole area, to promoting a private company. Thank you.
Thank you. I don't have any more cards for anybody here in person. I know some people have walked in kind of over the course of the meeting. If you are here and you want to make a comment today, I would just ask that you fill out one of the green cards over at the sign-in table. Also sign in if you haven't. And then once you fill that out, that'll come up to me and we'll make sure you have an opportunity to speak. We did have one person, oh, okay, I'm sorry. We had one person sign in online, but I said I would have her speak next, but I think you're just here to listen. Susan, is that correct? No, okay, that's a different person. Okay. Let me go ahead and unmute this person, and then I will have her speak. Or Susan, can you try to unmute yourself? It's not giving me the option. There we go. Yes, now I can hear you. Yes. So Susan, if you wouldn't mind your first and last name, your city and county of residence, please.
Okay, my name is Susan Strolkoff. I live in West Terre Haute, in Vigo County. I'm a landowner here, actually a farmer. It's a farm that's been in our family for over 200 years. I'm highly concerned about these projects. We've done much research over the last 2 years. One of the things that bothers me the most is with the company that we're dealing with. After doing a FOIA request, they were asking the EPA if they could inject twice the amount in half the time. And as we all know, the pressures build up under there. We also know that this is a mined ground out here, and it's just now becoming revitalized. So I'm highly concerned about this. There are many reasons for us to be worried. Our water, our children, I mean, these are our livelihoods. I don't think there's been enough research and studies done on the state's part. I'm very upset that a study was asked for before some laws were passed, but they seem to be ignored. So I think it's time that we just kind of take a pause, do an impact study, a risk assessment study to see what we actually need. This company that we're dealing with, they provided only 2D seismic data. I think there needs to be 3D or 4D seismic data. Our school, our elementary school, where my grandchildren go, is just 2.5 miles from the injection well. I mean, these kids are worth everything to us. So I don't believe in my heart that enough research has been done in Indiana to understand the complex issues that we're faced with. It does appear that Illinois, and especially even before they had the leak at the ADM plant, they literally had done some research and seen that, you know what, this threatens the Mohama aquifer. So that's why they put a ban on it. And I don't see anything in Indiana being done to look into this. So I would ask that, yes, the rules need to be put in place, but not just rules for the permitting, for the company's sake, but for our sakes. There needs to be safety rules, setbacks for pipelines, and actually risk assessment to know what we're going to need if something does go wrong. I feel these companies are coming in here, they're wanting the money, and that's what it is. And I do know that this company, the name is Wabash Valley Resources, literally wanted to only have 4 years oversight once they were complete with their injection. The minimum in the EPA permit documentation says 50 years, unless you can prove, right, unless you can prove that it's stabilized. So when they asked for 4 years, I was dumbfounded. They're going to up and leave us. And the state is holding the bag, or may hold the bag in the way the law states. So if you're not holding the bag and they're not holding the bag, my question is, who's holding the bag? This company has not been transparent with us, and I'm assuming from what I'm hearing from other counties, their companies are not being transparent. We need full transparency, not just from the companies, but from our legislators and from the DNR. It's just by chance I found out that this meeting was live. That's why I got on late. I've been watching the website. I didn't see anything posted that it was going to be live. And if I had known that, I know there would have been a lot more people on here. So I thank you for your time, and I hope that you take a hard look at this. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to go ahead and meet you again, Susan, just so we have no feedback or anything, okay? If you have, yes, okay, thank you. I don't see anybody else has joined through Microsoft Teams. And again, I don't have any cards in front of me at this point for people who want to speak. So at this point, I will probably mute the microphone. Yes, sir.
I already spoke to one of the point I'd like to add if it's allowed.
Yeah, if you can keep it relatively short,
Yeah.
a minute or two, please. Yeah, that's fine.
Dave Turflinger from Wabash County. In 2022, there was an Indiana code passed for a pilot program for Viego and Vermilion counties as a pilot program, okay, until June of 2028, I believe is the date. Then a senator and a House representative who were involved in the original pilot program came back and got a resolution passed that said, it was in 2023, and these are in the Indiana code, it's in the 1400 section, that this might be good for Indiana. And that's when, I think there's 29 sites right now in the state of Indiana that have applied for the federal permitting. Yet here, here's the DNR in the rulemaking, and I just wanted to make sure that you're aware of that. And I feel like every quadrant of this state is being affected, so they need to have their own hearing before any rules are made. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Sure. I'm gonna, again, if it's very short.
Yeah, it's real short. My name's Dottie Warwick from Newton County, and I forgot to tell you, there's a YouTube video from Wabash Valley Resources on August 22nd at 23, and it's about 1 hour and 39 minutes. It starts, residents is really concerned about a major earthquake, and so the representative from Wabash Valley says, oh, it'd be like Armageddon, it'd be end times. That's all I need to say. Very dangerous.
So like I said, I don't have any other comment cards. If you do want to make a comment, you're free to do that at any time. I just ask that you fill out one of those cards just so I know who's talking. At this point, what I'm going to do is mute the microphone for the meeting. Since there's no one else listed to speak at this point, if that changes, I'll unmute the microphone and I'll allow people to come up and have their say, okay? And that goes for the same with virtual. If anybody's on virtual and you need to make a comment or haven't yet, you want to, just use the hand raise function. I'll make sure you're called on. Yep. Okay, we do have one other person. Again, I know you spoke already, but if you go ahead and say your first and last name, and then just, I said, a minute or two.
Jeff Steinbron with the Rangeline Farmers. There's two other examples of what can happen when the carbon dioxide comes back up, because when it comes up through the well casing, because the fracture is at the well head, because that's the weakest point in the whole well design here for the the Wabash Carbon Solutions folks. So with Lake Nyos, that's in Cameroon, it was on an extinct volcano. So the carbon dioxide, until it gets a certain pressure, then it all releases at one time. So the lake is acidified as the carbon dioxide goes through it with the carbonic acid, but it all belched out and started rolling downhill like an avalanche. So it killed over 700 people, all the cattle, all the chickens, all the bugs, because when they came there to find out what happened, it was absolutely silent. So anything that needs oxygen will not survive through a cataclysmic thing like that. So here at the wellhead, so they're thinking that they're going to use trucks instead of a pipeline. So then they have to hook the truck up perfectly every time with no stress on that piece, because as soon as you pressurize that pipe, you are causing some of that carbon dioxide to flash into gas. So that's a cooling effect called Joule-Thomson. It can cool the metal that it's in contact with by over 100 degrees. So that's going to be a brittle fracture concern there. The other one is Lake Bomer down in Texas. They call that the West Texas Dead Sea. It's still oozing out because when you put the fluid into the water or into the ground, even 5,000 feet, 6,000 feet, whatever it was down there in Texas, it will cause a pressure gradient. So it's going to cause all the fluids that are in there, which is why I made mention of the industrial waste that's been put underneath this capstone in Illinois, only 50 miles away from this. It can bring all of that up because there's no telling how much increased pressure that caused. So with the carbon dioxide, it's basically going to unzipper that matrix of the dolomite. So it's going to raise it up, it's going to dissolve, and it's holding it with just the fluid. So that fluid's going to stay down there until it finds a way to relieve that pressure. So as it dissolves the rock, it's going to cause more total dissolved solids in that. So it's already high, over 35,000 parts per million right now. As you dissolve the rock, it's going to get higher and higher. So that's what's going to contaminate the Mahomet aquifer. And because you still have a pressure gradient, it's going to go to the aquifers above it. So you can check that out, Lake Nyos in the Cameroon and the Lake Bomer in Texas. So those are two very large examples of what happens when carbon dioxide is released to the surface.
Thank you. I did have another person comment here, not comment, but rather join online. Whitney Boyce, if you would go ahead, unmute yourself, first and last name, city and county of residence, please. And if you're representing an organization, please include that. Go ahead.
Hey, I'm Whitney Boyce. I'm from West Terre Haute, and that is in Vigo County. I am in the area directly impacted by the state's first carbon sequestration pilot project. So first off, I would just like to reiterate a comment that I've heard before, that I feel that it is absolutely unconscionable that this hearing was held a full 6-hour round trip from the area directly impacted by the state's first carbon sequestration pilot project that has been mandated by the state. So I just wanted to go on record saying that. Second, for it to be so far away puts undue and unnecessary burden on individuals like myself. I'm a school teacher. I'm on my lunch break right now. I didn't know that this meeting was going to be live streamed or that I could participate in this way. Otherwise, I would have saved some of my comments for the live stream video. Regardless, they've been sent in and I appreciate that they will be recorded, so thank you very much. Secondly, I'm here specifically right now to talk about the danger to the children and the lack of rules that effectively protect the citizens in the DNR proposed ruling on carbon sequestration. First off, okay, carbon dioxide is a toxic substance. There have been plenty of research and studies done on indoor pollutant of CO2 and its impact and brain damage caused by that on students in particular from school buildings without proper ventilation. I find that to be extremely concerning, especially when these pipelines and these projects are going in so very close to school systems. Third, companies are not required to specify the safety plans in the DNR proposed rules. I didn't see where they have to disclose what those safety plans are. And if that's left up to the counties, what the counties are currently saying is that they have no power or authority to mandate such measures. So I think there needs to be something written in the rules that clarifies those procedures. As it stands right now in Vigo County, we only have one hazardous materials emergency management team. And according to those people, they would not be able to respond in a timely enough fashion to save these students of Fayette Elementary School that are going to be directly impacted by any leak or rupture in the pilot project. Data shows that it takes 6 minutes for permanent brain damage and or death to occur. And that is for a fully functioning and healthy adult. Now, we all know that the way children's blood systems work is much different, and their toxicity levels are achieved at a much shorter span of time. So I feel like the proposed rules really need to be gone over again. I'm concerned that these safety rules themselves, not only do they not consider these factors, they seem to be, in my opinion, more concerned with permitting and authorization than they are with protecting the natural resources and protecting human life and safety. So I really feel like the rules need to be paused, that directly impacted communities need to be brought in and given a seat at the table to talk about our concerns, because as of yet, across the state, that has not happened. So we're being effectively excluded from any conversations about our health and safety. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to go ahead and mute you. Are you ready? Thank you. Appreciate that. Okay, again, I don't have any new comment cards in front of me. So at this point, and no one else has joined besides Susan, who is here, and then Whitney. I'm going to go ahead and mute the microphone at this point. If anybody else joins online, I'll unmute and we'll take their comment. Or if I get another green card from anybody currently in attendance, then I will unmute at that point as well and take your comment. Thank you.
Where did you say this is being streamed?
So I just had a question from someone in attendance about where this meeting is being streamed. I'll just make sure it's on the record. It's on the Natural Resources Commission Rulemaking docket page. The address for that, I have it somewhere over here. Hold on. There it is. It's the address for that, www.in, like in Indiana, .gov, like in government, /NRC/rules/rulemaking, all one word, RULEMAKING, -docket. If you navigate to the NRC webpage, it's on the left-hand side menu. There's a rules page, and the rulemaking document is located there.
One more time.
One more time, sorry. The address?
Yeah.
Sure, it's in.gov, so www.in.gov/NRC for Natural Resources Commission, so NRC/rules/rulemaking, all one word, RULEMAKING -docket.
What was that for the hyphen?
Docket, the word docket, DOCKET. And I said, if you go onto the main NRC page, that's in.gov/NRC, there is a left-hand menu with a section titled Rules. The rulemaking docket is in that section. So that's the easiest way to navigate to it from the main page. I do see Susan has raised her hand again. Susan, if you want to make another comment, that's fine. Just try to keep it, a couple minutes at most, please. But you can go ahead and unmute yourself and make that comment if you'd like.
I'm assuming you were talking to me. I couldn't hear. My computer kind of messed up.
Yes, I am. I'm sorry. Yes, Susan. So if you have another comment, I would just say, try to keep it relatively brief, a couple of minutes, please. But go ahead.
Yeah, again, my name is Susan Strokoff. I'm here in Bible County. I'm an impacted landowner by the Wabash Valley Resources Project. The lack of transparency, I think, is the biggest issue here. We knew nothing about this, and the company had reached out to me and said they were going to have a landowner or a farmer meeting because they wanted to talk about low-cost fertilizer. And when I was highly interested what was going on down there. I'd never heard anything about it. When I got down there, I walked into a building, there were 3 men, and there was no other farmers in the building. And I asked them what's going on, and then they proceeded to tell me it was about hydrogen. But anyway, that is the lack of transparency and the distrust that this has caused. Nobody, our lawmakers, the companies have not been fully transparent. Now we've got DNR rules trying to be put in place, and I just feel that these rules should be in place to protect us and our environment. These are the rulemaking processes. What's going to be the next step in this if we don't have those rules in place? I just feel that a pause is very important. At least in the rules, we need to get rules in place, safety for our children, safety for our communities, and then look at our water. I think water is going to become a huge issue. But I just want to say the lack of transparency on all sides, the state, the DNRs, and the companies are what's driving all these problems. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so like I said before, I don't have any other comments in front of me, or excuse me, comment cards in front of me. No one else has signed on. This meeting's probably going to run until about 2 o'clock, so I'm here till 2 either way. You're obviously welcome to stay if you'd like. No problem with that, but I'll also understand if you want to leave. That's not a big problem either. So completely up to you, but we'll be here until about 2 o'clock. Okay? And I'm going to go ahead and mute the microphone at this point until I have another comment. Yes. No, we don't allow poster displays, handouts, that kind of stuff. If you want to leave it over on there, if you want to hold it where you are now, that's fine, but not as part of the comment. It's not a state law, but there are rules surrounding that, yes, on how the procedures on how the meetings are run. You can find it. I'm not really, I don't think I'm supposed to do that, I don't know, but it's available through the rules, the administrative code and everything like that.
So if I called your office, if I called somebody's office, they could...
Yeah. Yes. I did have a person just sign in online. Let me admit them real quick here. Okay, I just had somebody sign in online. Susan, I'm afraid to try to pronounce it. Are you wanting to make a comment? Susan, if you can hear me, we can't hear you if you are talking, but if you want to make a comment, okay, I see you muted your microphone. If you want to make a comment later, just go ahead and use the hand raise function, and I'll be sure to call on you, and she just signed off. So, okay, never mind, she just hung up.
Is that the other Susan?
Yeah, that's a Susan.
Yeah, she had signed off and then signed back on.
Okay, that's fine. Okay, I did have somebody just call in virtually. Let's see. I'm going to ask everybody to please quiet down a little bit. I did have somebody call in. I see Janet Stroll-Ciantillo. Can you hear me, Janet?
Yes.
Okay. Do you want to wait? No, it's coming back. Okay, there we go.
Can I ask everybody to quiet down a little bit? I did have somebody call in. I see Janet Stroll-Ciantillo. Can you hear me, Janet?
Yes, I do. Yes.
Okay. I'm not sure whether we're getting feedback, but Janet, whenever you're ready to make your public comment, go ahead.
Quiet down a little bit. I did have somebody call in. I see Janet Stroll-Ciantillo. Can you hear me, Janet?
Yes.
Okay, there we go. Okay.
Janet, whenever you're ready to make your public comment, go ahead. Call in. Janet Stroll-Ciantillo.
I keep getting an echo. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. I'm hearing it too.
My comment is the risk of transporting the CO2 on our highways and our county roads
I would like the rules to address that. Yes, I'm sorry.
Oh, you're fine.
My comment is the risk of transporting the CO2 on our highways and our county roads. I would like the rules to address that. Yes, I'm sorry.
Oh, you're fine.
My comment is the risk of
Yeah, Janet, there's something on your end with your feedback. I don't know what it is.
She has to turn off her microphone or speaker. She has to turn off her.
Oh, like in the
Yeah. Yeah, she's got her speaker on, so she's getting that feedback coming through.
Sounds like you may have a speaker on, an additional speaker, and that's where the feedback's coming from. Because whenever you're muted, we don't hear the feedback. So Janet, if you have a second speaker on, you can turn that off, and then I'm happy to have you try again and make your comment. I want to make sure you heard and called in.
Okay, we're ready. Okay.
Okay, Janet, I see you've rejoined here again, so I'm going to ask you to go
I'm
ahead
sorry.
and give your first and last name, your organization if applicable, and your city and county of residence. I'm going to ask the people in person to please quiet down a little bit. Go ahead, Janet, whenever you're ready.
My name is Janet Charles Bryant. I'm from Vigo County, and I am concerned about having our area because it is directly impacted by the carbon sequestration permanently stored. My concern is transporting in our highways, our county roads toward any injection sites. We would like to see rules for this. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, again, I don't have any other comment cards. No one else has joined virtually, so I will mute the microphone for now. And then as soon as I have another comment, I will unmute it. Am I filling out a
I
card?
have to go fill out a card. Started to once.
One second, if you don't mind. Yeah, I did have somebody want to make a comment here in person. I have their comment card. If you wouldn't mind, go ahead and giving your first and last name, if you represent an organization, and your city and county of residence.
My name is Cheryl Ross. I'm from Wabash, Indiana. I am a mother, daughter, grandmother, wife. Seems like all we get done is fighting for our rights as citizens. I'm just curious what you guys will do for the next 2 hours, because since this meeting was kind of unknown to many in our county, and it wasn't given a time slot, I'm just curious, you're just going to sit here and wait for comments and hope that somebody gets online, or otherwise we'll sit in silence until 2 p.m.?
I'll answer the question because it's related to the procedure. Yeah, we're waiting for other people if they want to call in virtually, for example, or if other people show up.
So in my county, we've had to fight wind, solar, and now carbon sequestration. Transparency through all of this has been void with every one of these companies. Most times people don't understand what's going on in our counties, and fortunately last year I was made aware of carbon sequestration, had no idea that this was a process that would be coming our way before we even got our solar ordinance into place. So while we were finalizing one, we was already starting to do research on the other. And there has been a lot of research done, and what we found is a whole lot of cons and very few pros. We've had a lot of unanswered questions from Vault 44 or POET. Lots of backroom conversations have taken place, and very few answers. We had to force them into a public meeting or a public hearing so that our citizens could find out what's going on. And as Dave said earlier, we had approximately 400 people there. We had a well driller there who has almost 100 years of experience from their family business. He gave us tons of information and just continued to confirm our concerns. One of the biggest concerns is eminent domain. No one's answered these questions. Our project started out that they wanted 2,000 acres. They'd really like 6, but 10 would be fantastic. Not sure if that was their exact words, but that's basically what it came across to us as. That was not in a public hearing. But how do they get that 10,000 when they've had to reduce it to just find 6 landowners that were willing to participate? I think somewhat maybe unknowing what they were signing for, but 6 landowners out of hundreds in the area have decided to sign. Everybody else has said no. They're standing firm on that no, and yet they still try. So how they got their 70%, or their so-called 70%, was those 6 landowners and their 185 acres on the property that this well will be drilled on. Not sure if they used, we can't seem to find out if there was a limit, or when they filed for their EPA well, did they say that they was doing it on 2,000 acres? Are they held to that 2,000 acres? No one knows, because they stand cold-faced in silence to us when we ask questions. If there wasn't a requirement that they gave for the amount of ground that they was planning on drilling this well and pumping it into, reducing it by almost 50% to come up with 70% and using their 185 acres to make that 70%. I'm curious, should that well still be considered? I don't think so. Our federal government has made all kinds of bad calls. One that hasn't been talked about is when Goodyear decided that they could help our ocean out by tossing in thousands, if not millions, of tires into the ocean to help make
Very top of your screen.
I'm sorry, someone
It will
just
say-
joined here. I'm trying to mute him before you. I apologize. Go ahead.
That's okay. So they was wanting to make coral reefs out of these tires. They're now pulling those out at taxpayer dollars expense also to eliminate those tires and that waste in our ocean floors. So I feel like this is just another bad call, another bad experiment that's being done on our counties, and they're proceeding with this when we have Vigo and Vermilion counties supposedly having the pilot program, and they're not even waiting for that. So when they opened up this pilot program, later they just opened up the door to Indiana for this, and I think that's a shame. Our deficit is a prime example. While they plan to use our subsidies, or plan to subsidize this with 45Q, our country is going bankrupt. And when they say that if the tax credits go away, then they'll just start spewing it again into the earth or into the atmosphere, it makes no sense. I mean, anybody with any common sense can see that this clearly makes no sense. And I definitely don't believe that the DNR, who is here protecting our groundwaters, our waters, our lakes, our rivers, our streams, our wildlife, and our state parks and so forth, are not the people to put in charge of this. My preference would be we say no to this at this time, and until there's something that proves that this is safe, that this doesn't happen. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I did have somebody join here online. Flo Evinger, if you would go ahead and unmute yourself, I'll take your comment this time. I just request you give your first and last name and your city and county of residence, as well as any organization you might be representing today, okay? So whenever you're ready, go ahead.
Top of the screen, don't say unmute.
Okay, I did that.
Now you're
We can
talk.
we can hear you, yeah.
Can you hear me? Okay. Flo Evinger, 6831 West Pines Avenue, West Terre Haute, Indiana. I am a member of Concerned Citizens Against Wabash Valley Resources in West Terre Haute, Indiana. I'd like to say that my organization, who's been following Wabash Valley Resources very closely, just found out within the last few hours that this commission was even going to be online. We was told that we had to show up or send a written email or text to even make a comment. So this is a rural area. People are busy. They do not have time to just sit at a computer and wait and see if something's going to pop up. We could have arranged and have people help other people, myself included, walk through this process of being even able to talk to the commission. The DNR, of course, seems to us scheduled this meeting clear out of our area. Since we are concerned about Wabash Valley Resources, I think it should have, and everybody else in the surrounding area believes that this meeting should have been held in Indianapolis or Terre Haute, someplace closer to where this project is being done. It almost seems like you didn't want anybody to know what was going on. what was that? I heard clicking.
That's somebody else joining, so whenever you're finished, I'll call on them
Oh.
next to speak, okay?
Okay, no, I'm not quite done,
No, you're fine. Yeah,
yet.
go ahead.
but I
You're fine. You're fine.
appreciate you telling me what was going on. Yes, we were very concerned about this CO2, as we considered a scam project in our area. This stuff is being dumped into ground that has been blasted by underground mining for years, strip mining. I don't know whether you realize that this project is going right next to the Wabash River. If there would be some kind of contamination, you realize how many thousands and thousands of people would be affected? The wildlife, the fishery here in the Wabash Valley and the Terre Haute area. We have 2 schools within proximity of said well. Nobody seems concerned about the schools. Nobody seems concerned about what can happen. Our fire departments aren't equipped to handle any of this process. Dumping this kind of stuff into our ground here just does not make sense to us. Besides that, this company here is being known to pressure people into signing things, pressuring them to do something. They have, I know for a fact, sent letters saying that they will be suing people if their land is not turned over to them. We are very concerned about an old cemetery that is on the property. What are they going to do about an old cemetery called Cold Creek Cemetery that we're having trouble getting information and getting access to on Wabash Valley Resources property? I have 99% sure that part of my distant relatives are buried in that cemetery. We want to know about things like that. There is just a lot of concern about the people, the welfare of the people here in Vigo and Vermilion County. Let's see, there's something else I want to say. I do believe that the DNR, the EPA, has pressured our local and our state politicians into a money-grabbing scam here. And that, yes, and the people in this area cannot use the technology to follow all of this. I had to have someone younger than myself walk me through this process, even get signed on. So we need a local meeting with the DNR, with Wabash Valley Resources, someplace close, someplace local, that the local citizens of Vigo and Vermilion County can get up and speak like this. You're not going to get very many people making comment because they don't even know what's online. They don't know the technology of how to get online. So what is the big deal about having a public forum, a public meeting where people can come say what they have to say? Can somebody answer why a meeting of this magnitude for these communities had to have a meeting over in Randolph County when the situation here is in Vigo and Vermilion County?
So I'm not a part of the commission, I work for them, and this is not a forum for questions, it's a forum for public comments.
Well, could we have a local forum for public comment instead of having to do everything online, instead of over there in this county? We need one local.
Well, again, I'm not here to answer that question, but if you want to contact either the DNR with your concerns about that, that's the appropriate forum for that.
Okay, I have done that multiple times and have never heard any response. Okay, I'm done.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Evinger. I did have somebody sign on, but it looks like they've left the meeting, so I don't have anybody else.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Whitney.
Okay, sorry. I don't have anybody else waiting at this point. So again, I will mute the microphone for now until I have either another comment card or another virtual attendee. Okay, I did have somebody join virtually, and Cindy Pyle again. Cindy, if you're wanting to make a public comment, you'll need to unmute yourself. Once you've done that, I will go ahead. I mean, I've effectively called on you, but once you unmuted yourself, you can go ahead and make your public comment. Okay, Ms. Pyle, I see you're still not unmuted. I do have an external caller, 812, last two digits, 5316. Are you wanting to make a public comment today? Sorry, I remuted my microphone. I apologize. I do see someone just called in, 812, area code, last two digits, 5316. Are you wanting to make a public comment today?
Yes.
Okay. I'm just going to ask you to give me your first and last name, an organization if you represent one, and your city and county of residence, please.
Okay, name Cindy Pyle, P-Y-L-E.
Thank you.
And I'm also a member of Concerned Citizens Against Wabash Valley Resources.
Okay.
And I live in Blanford, Indiana.
Blanford?
Vermilion County.
Okay.
Yes, B-L-A-N-F-O-R-D.
Thank you.
Vermilion County.
Okay, whenever you're ready, go ahead.
Well, first of all, I'd like to say this is very complicated because my computer is old and I'm sure there's other folks having difficulties trying to join this meeting. I firmly believe this meeting should have been held closer to Vermilion and Vigo County since we are under the thumb of Wabash Valley Resources and the whole carbon sequestration. It is going to probably affect our county first and foremost in the state, and this meeting should have been held closer to our area so that more could attend and more could speak publicly.
Okay.
Our main concern is them injecting CO2 underneath our water aquifer, and if we don't have water, what do we have? Honestly, I don't feel there's any rules or any setbacks that are good enough for this. It is too dangerous. We know it leaks. We know there's problems with it. Small little rules is not going to help it.
Okay.
I think it should be permanently banned. That's my opinion.
Okay. Okay, thank you. If that's the end of your comment, I'm going to go ahead and mute you for now, and then you can unmute yourself later. Is that okay?
Yes, that's fine.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Okay. Again, I don't have anybody else who's joined virtually at this point. I don't have anybody in person wanting to make any other comments, so until I do, I will mute the microphone. If that changes, if I either get a card or somebody walks in and wants to speak, or if someone else joins virtually, I will unmute the microphone and take their public comment. Okay, I do have a new comment card in front of me. I'm going to go ahead and call that person up to speak. Is it Meg? Meg Steinbrom? Okay, whenever you're ready. Again, if your first and last name, if you're representing an organization, and then your city and county of residence.
Hi, my name is Meg Steinbron. I just want to say a few things to Summit Carbon Solutions, if they're listening. And I want to talk about first responders and how nobody's considering that the people who are going to rescue the people that will be laying on the ground, if they're still alive, trying to get out of the area of the carbon dioxide cloud that you may not or you may see, depending on the temperature outside. I want to talk about how it's going to feel to people who are being overcome by carbon dioxide, and first responders need to know this too. So I hope this goes out far and wide because no one's talking about it. The lungs start to feel as if they are burning, and the signals the body receives from the brain when CO2 levels are too high include strong, painful, and involuntary contractions or spasms of the diaphragm and the muscles in between the ribs. At some point, the spasms become so frequent, intense, and unbearable that continued holding of the breath is nearly impossible. And at that moment, you will probably pass out, and if you're lucky, someone will get to you within 2 or 3 minutes to save your life or to bring you to a facility if their vehicle is able to work, because the carbon dioxide will knock out the engines of the emergency vehicles that are supposed to come to your rescue. The apparatus that each person coming to your rescue will need to buy and the outfits that they have to wear to live through carbon dioxide to rescue people who are in dire need cost $6,000, $7,000, $8,000 a piece. Bake sales and talent shows are not going to pay for that. I don't know who is, but I think Carbon Summit. Carbon Solutions. I said it before. I can't remember what it is now, but Summit Carbon Solutions needs to be the people dishing out the dollars that they're getting to help protect first responders. And thank you for listening, and pass this on wherever, because the world needs to hear. Thank you.
Thank you. I don't have anybody online yet. I shouldn't say online yet. I don't have any new people online who are making comments. And as of right now, that was the last green card that I got. So again, until I have another one, I will mute the microphone until I see someone want to propose. Okay, I had somebody just call in here. I see area code 812, last 2 digits 1316. Are you wanting to make a public comment today?
Yes, please.
Okay, I'm just going to ask you to give me your first and last name, any organization you represent, if applicable, and then your city and county of residence, please.
Okay, name is Christina with CH Wade, W-A-D-E.
Okay.
I live in Terre Haute, Indiana,
Okay.
Vigo County.
Okay, go ahead.
And I'm just really concerned that this meeting is not somewhere close by, that I can't participate, I can't be there, and I have some really serious concerns about in terms of the safety. There just don't seem to be safety features. It doesn't seem to be safety concerns, and the fact that they're holding the meeting so far away makes me feel even less safe, like they're hiding.
Okay.
Especially in the middle of the day.
Okay.
And that's it.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye. see somebody else is called in, area code 812. Last 4 digits, I'm going to ask you to quiet down a little bit, please. Last 4 digits, 3706. Are you wanting to make a public comment today?
Yes, please.
Okay, can I please have your first and last name, any organization you might be representing today, and then your city and county of residence?
Yes, my name is Lauren Wade. I'm from Vigo County, and I'm not affiliated with anything, but I just really, I work there every day, and I can't be there for the meeting, and so it just really makes me nervous that there just really seems to be some sketchy, some sketchy things going on, because I really would like to be there, but I can't, and it's just so far away. So I just worry about safety precautions, and I'm worried about my family's safety as well.
Okay. Anything else?
No, that was it.
Okay, thank you very much. I also saw somebody else who called in. It looks like area code 815. Okay, hold on 1 minute. Area code 815. Last 4 digits 5692. If you're wanting to make a public comment today, I just ask for your first and last name, your organization if you represent one, and your city and county of residence, please.
Julia Fosdick, and my city is Pontiac, Illinois. My county is Livingston, and I'm a landowner in Illinois. And I've been looking and working in the project, looking about CO2 here, so I've gained a lot of understanding of it. I'm concerned that it's only the Vigo County project is only 5 miles from the Illinois line, and I'm concerned about water safety and safety to people. I don't think there's adequate technology to do the plume modeling to know. I think it's very possible that this CO2 plume could come into Illinois underground. And I don't know what kind of rules or regulations there are to deal with that. And I don't think there's any safety things in these regulations. So how are the 2 states going to cooperate on safety things if there's nothing set up? And I'm concerned about the water. Also, we have one active sequestration project that's actually paused at this point, and it's leaked. And some of that is, this is experimental. People don't, the science really is not there to know whether this is going to stay down there or how. And I just think there's not enough known to really expand to these bigger projects at this point in time. The project at Decatur AGM is really small compared to what's being proposed at the site there, and we just don't know enough about it to keep it safe.
Okay. I'm going to ask you, if you don't mind spelling your last name for me. I didn't quite hear it.
F as in Fox, O-S-D-I-C-K.
Fosdick. Okay, thank you very much. Appreciate it. Okay, I did have a couple of more people call in. I think I'm getting these in order. I see a caller, area code 812, last 2 digits 3812. You want to go ahead? If you want to make a public comment, please give me your first and last name, your organization if you represent one, and your city and county of residence, please.
My name is Amy, A-M-Y, McLennan, M-A-C-L-E-N-N-A-N. I live at 3775 West Duggar Avenue in West Terre Haute in Vigo County. I am concerned because there's not enough, I don't think there's been enough study done to determine how safe this process is, as far as, supercooling this, volatile liquid and running it in an unproven, untested pipeline just 5 feet under the ground. This is just a few yards from my house where they had proposed to put the pipeline. I have family members who are my neighbors. It's a very, populated, and more people are building along this, the road that I live on. So the population is growing constantly. It's a unique wildlife area as well. People come to recreate, and there's not enough studies been done to show that we'll be protected. There are no the first responders are, there's no way they can get to it in case of an accident. They don't have the equipment to actually respond adequately, and people will be put in danger. If they don't put in this pipeline, this proposal to run trucks 24/7, twice an hour, 365 days a year, will put all of our kids who ride bicycles on the road in danger. It's a small road. It's it's rural, and we walk up and down. We don't have sidewalks. We visit our neighbors, and we have to be out there. We have children. There are toys. There are wild animals. There are pets. This is a completely unacceptable proposal as well. So as you can see, I'm just extremely concerned about the safety of my neighbors and myself and family and children, and also this very, it's a unique to our area, beautiful wildlife area that should be preserved and not put in danger.
Okay.
I've learned a lot about the science by attending a lot of these meetings, and I don't, from what I've learned, I don't think there's any way we can be really safe there. And we're in a seismic zone. I remember the earthquake in 1967. It was quite powerful when I was a child then. That I was, it definitely impacted our home. And I can't see how this pot could be safe. I also know, just through family history, we have a map of old abandoned coal mines. The whole area there is riddled with, porous. So I'm concerned about the containment of the CO2 contaminating our well.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. I know that several people have called in just using phones, and that's fine. I would just ask that until I call in your number, if you could please mute yourself on your end. That way we don't have a lot of cross conversation, and everybody can be heard just fine. I am going to try to take people in the order they called in, so please forgive me if you're maybe one slot behind where you think you were. That's okay. I'm going to call on now. It looks like area code 812-240-5316. If you're wanting to make a public comment, I would just ask that you unmute yourself, give me your first and last name, and organization if you represent one, and your city and county of residence, please. And I'll give you a few seconds to do that. If you don't, then I'll assume you're wanting to listen, and I'll move on to the next person. Okay, if that changes, you can unmute yourself later, and I'll take your public comment. The next person I had was 812-243-2522. If you want to make a comment, please give me your first and last name, your organization if you represent one, and your city and county of residence, please.
Hello, my name is John Ford, Johnford, and I reside in rural West Terre Haute, Vigo County, Indiana. So I'm in Fayette Township. I'm along the same road as Amy McLennan and have all those same concerns. Also, we know it's a fact that fracking is it creates a multitude of other problems with, seismic issue and leaking fluids and all this. And this is just a variation on that technology. So, if this fails from a technology standpoint, as it is likely to do, then, those of us nearest to it are probably going to die. And it's pumping high pressure poison into the ground. The whole high pressure, so that's going to fracture the rock, and further than already, and it's going to poison our water. It's going to poison the environment. It's going to kill us. There's just everything about this is not good, and it's been rammed through without adequate public scrutiny and without adequate transparency by the people wanting to make a lot of money off of this. Anyway, that's my comment. Thank you for letting me comment.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate it. We had a few more people call in on the phone, so I'm just letting you know that I'm trying to go through these in the order that I get them. I have, by my count, at least 3 people here waiting. The next person that called in was calling in through Microsoft Teams. It was Susan Thomas. So I can see Susan Thomas. Whenever you're ready, please just tell me if you represent an organization and your city and county of residence, please.
Thank you. Susan Thomas. I'm in Beverly Shores, Indiana, Porter County, and I'm the Director of Policy and Press for Just Transition Northwest Indiana. We are very concerned about these rules that you've been presented. There is no transparency in these, nothing regarding public safety provisions, and we need to the parish in Mississippi as a county example of what is going on. We point to the necessity of public meeting must be held in the affected areas, not hours away. Many of us are coming in on a work who are very far away. There's little detailed information on the seismic activity that is inherent to the geography of the must be included.
Susan, I'm going to stop you for just a second because you're kind of cutting in and out. I'm not getting everything you're saying, so I don't know if there's a connection issue, but if you might want to speak a little bit slower, maybe that'll help us pick up on what you're saying, but it's kind of, I'm losing almost every other word.
We oppose these rules. They must be revised.
And I think so Susan, you're unmuted, but was that the end of your comment? If you're still speaking, I can't hear you.
Oh, this is Susan Adams.
No, hold on. Sorry, not
Is that who you're talking to?
No, Susan Thomas. You're still unmuted. I just want to make sure that you finished your public comment before I move on, because I said if you're speaking, I can't hear you right now, Ms. Thomas. Okay.
We oppose these rules as is. It must be revised.
Okay, thank you. I just want to make sure. I didn't want to cut you off if you weren't finished. I appreciate it. Thank you. Okay, I said I've had several people call in. I'm trying to take people in the order that they called. The next person I have is area code 812-251-6733. If you're wanting to make a public comment, please unmute yourself. Give me your first and last name, your organization if you represent one, and your city and county of residence, please. Okay, if you're having technical issues and you figure it out, I will call on you as soon as you're unmuted. Okay, the next person that called in is area code, I think that person logged off. I don't see them anymore on. Okay, I have 287-2371.
Hi, that's me.
Okay, go ahead.
My name is Allison Hartnett, and I'm calling from Terre Haute, Indiana.
Okay.
I am calling because I'm deeply concerned about this. First of all, I'm concerned that this meeting is being held so far from the site at which I am worried about and that we're discussing, and that are up in the air. And I'm concerned that the residents of Terre Haute and the surrounding areas are not being informed along the way about seismic testing. For example, I believe it was maybe a month ago, maybe 5 weeks, I happened to be driving the same way on 63 that I do every day, and there were little flags up, and all across from Fairbanks Park all the way into the county, past the federal prison, and I thought, well, that's odd. So I had to make some phone calls because there hadn't been anything in the paper and there hadn't been anything reported in the news. I ended up talking with a groundskeeper at one of the city parks, and he said, well, I think that they're looking for oil. And I said, that's weird. I don't think that's right. So I called around, and I ended up finding out that there was seismic testing going on. And it's the same seismic testing that has been going on north of here, and so outside of Vigo County, but now it's going on in Vigo County, and none of us were aware of that. That's really disturbing to me. I find that problematic, to say the least. So I just wanted to call and express my concern and deep dissatisfaction with the level of, the lack of transparency that is shrouding this entire situation.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so this is, again, writing down people as they come in here. Okay, so the next person I have is area code 217-871-2727. If you're wanting to make a public comment, please go ahead and unmute yourself at this point. Okay, again, if that changes, if you do want to make a comment, go ahead and unmute yourself and I'll call on you when I can.
Is this working?
Yes, that is. I can hear you. Go ahead and please give me your first and last name, your organization if you have one, if you're representing one rather, and your city and county of residence, please.
Okay. It's Susan Adams, and I'm Logan County, Illinois, live in Atlanta, Illinois, and own farm grounds. I also represent the Illinois Water Authority Association and work with them, and they have a lot of concerns about carbon sequestration and possible leaks and movement. And one of the things I'd like to comment on is there's a real lack of safety being included with any of the carbon sequestration. ADM has had equipment malfunction and leaks and equipment failures. And according to ADM's own protocol, they would report and stop injections. And they had a leak going on for several months before they actually, before it was made known to the public. And it wasn't made known to the public by ADM. And in fact, when the US EPA was doing an inspection at the plant, they found some of the leaks. And the US EPA didn't even require ADM to follow their own protocol
and stop injecting. So there's a real concern from a state standpoint and any other regulation that there's not a lot of safety being given to this kind of effort. So thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you. I'm just going down the list in the order that I received these, not that I received, the order people called in. Area code 785-280-1710. If you're wanting to make a public comment, please unmute yourself now. Let me have your first and last name, organization if you represent one, and your city and county of residence, please. Okay? If you're wanting to make a public comment later, unmute yourself and I will be sure that you're heard, okay? Next person that called in, 765-505-2702. If you're wanting to make a public comment today, please unmute yourself. Okay. Sorry, so I had, it's 505-27, don't mute it. 2702, looks like you're muted. There might be an issue on our end with Teams, but if you want to either call back in or try to unmute yourself, and I'll take your public comment if you do. Next person that came in, 812-280. Sorry, I can't read my own handwriting. Sorry, 230-3812. If you're wanting to make if you want to make a public comment, unmute yourself now. Okay, 812-251-6733. See, you called back in. Okay, I'll just say if you're having issues with the mute or unmute on your end, and that is the people calling in, I would just recommend backing out, basically calling, ending the call and trying again to call in. Again, I'll take you in the order that I see you come in. I just want to make sure it's not an issue on our end if there's anything going on. But if you do that, I'll be sure to take your public comment. I do see, I believe, Ms. Scott up at the podium. Are you wanting to make an additional comment? Okay.
Yeah, I just didn't want to interrupt.
I appreciate that. If you want to make an additional comment, again, just a couple of minutes, please. And then
Okay. Yeah, briefly, I mentioned it earlier, but I kind of wanted to reiterate. I'm influenced by my own button that says, "Fight like you live here." It's part of the Clean Water and Clean Land Associations group. But it's very important that we do that we do care like we live here. Not just that we live in Indiana, but that we live in the Midwest, and that this project affects so many of the states all around us, affects all of our water. And if this all goes through as it is planned for Vigo County, what will it do to our reputation as a county? Will we be known as a dumping ground? People refer to these wells as dumps because they say a well would be something with fresh water, not a place in the ground where you would store waste. I think it's so important to consider the future and that sentence, oh, don't go to Vigo County because, they dump carbon sequestration there. That's what they're known for, other than, something we would be proud of, like one of our universities or our beautiful Wabash River. It's important that every community care, and I do care about all of them, but I can't tell you how afraid I am for my hometown to be singled out We don't want to be known for that. We want to be known for a place that cares so much about its citizens that at all costs of progress, we do it slowly and we make sure that we're not hurting people, as in the case of this school. That is so scary to think about something happening that close. And I don't know how we avoid that, because it's not like the lives of the children matter more than the lives of anyone, but hopefully we can make people think into the future when we discuss the kids. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I do see that 765-505-2702 called back in. If you're going to make a public comment, please give me your first and last name, your organization if you represent one, and your city and county of residence, please.
Katrina Jones, Vermilion County in Universal, Indiana.
Okay.
My concern is that the fact that these people are wanting to put a well out here that isn't tapped in a mining town where they have no idea where there's any fissures, any cracks, any openings in the earth here. Not only that, but we're on a fault line. They have no rules, that are proposed in the rules. And they want to move these hearings 3 hours away instead of keeping it where the impacted communities are. And I feel like, they're trying to hide exactly what they're doing. And nevertheless, even if they don't pipeline this through here, if you think that hauling hazmat trucks down 63 at 100 trucks a day, there isn't going to be an incident, they're sadly mistaken. So, with hauling hazmat through here as frequently as they would have to haul hazmat just to go out and dump where they want to dump, or running a pipe through a small mining town where there's cracks and holes, they have no idea where they are. I think it's a pretty reckless scenario for these people to want to try to push this on a small town where they thought they could just come in and upend everybody, and not only that, what happens once this leaks off? What happens once this hits the soil? What happens once it leaks into the air? You're in a small town, you've got farms that are right next to it. What does it do for the farming families who are out here that they have hundreds of $1,000 homes that are sitting out here right now, but yet these people have no rules or regulations or guidelines that they're going to have to follow at a federal, let alone state level.
Okay. Thank you. I'm going to go, let's see, hold on, sorry. 785-280-1710. I see you called back in. It looks like I can hear you now. Are you willing to make a comment?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now, yes. Please give me your first and last name, your organization if you represent one, and your city and county of residence.
My name is Margaret Miller. My address is 3881 West Duggar Avenue, that's Dugger Avenue, West Terre Haute, 47885. I'm a resident here with a number of my family members. We live on the property we grew up in. Our concern is the damage to the property, not just specifically our property, the damage to the land of this entire region. We know this is serious. This is a big industry with serious implications. If something goes wrong, when something goes wrong, it's going to have widespread damage. Right now, it's not just the beauty of the nature and the wildlife, it's not just those items, it is the planet Earth. And I feel like what is being shown is incredible disregard of respect for the planet we live on. I think the entire process that Rubbish Valley Resources, or whatever name they're going by now, is a scam. We've had different stories from everyone all along, from the very first meeting we attended to the most recent one. To hear a high school science teacher explain clearly
what this is and was amazing. Everybody needs to listen to this. This is basic science. And, you know, we have to abide by science. Everything works that way. It's a machine. The planet is a machine, a mechanism that works. We don't want to disrupt that place where there can't be life here again. We've seen visuals of like tar sands. We've seen visuals of areas where things have gone wrong with mining operations. It's not just because this is our home, it's because this is everyone's home. What happens here affects a widespread area, it affects the health of the planet. Let's have some respect for the earth. Let's work with the science that the earth presents us as workable, and let's recognize untruth for what it is. I feel like it's a political issue. It's anything but an environmental issue. There's science, there's basic science behind why this will or won't work and what happens when it does. And the fact that it may work for a little while is not comforting to me or any person at all, I'm sure. That's basically my comment. Yes, we love the woods, we love the nature, we love all of this. This is not personal. This is the planet. Let's take care of it.
Okay, thank you. The next person I have, sorry, for those of you who just called in, I'm trying to take people as they call in. As far as I know, these are all new commenters, but the next person I have that called in is 765-505-9885. If you're wanting to make a public comment, please give me your first and last name, your organization if you represent one, and your city and county of residence, please.
Douglas Cohan, concerned citizens against Wabash Valley Resources, University of Indiana, Rulemaking County.
Okay.
I think this is the most ludicrous thing I've ever heard of. To try and inject billions of gallons of supercritical CO2 underneath communities and not expect anything bad to happen. There's a complete lack of respect for the taxpaying citizens' lives of these communities over the rich manufacturing people of these communities, of this country. I mean, everybody knows that this is the dumbest idea that anybody's ever had, but these people do not care. They just keep driving and driving and driving, coming up with dumber and dumber ideas to try and get these tax incentives. And they're going to keep going. And people are going to keep fighting. But it's just a get rich quick scheme at the lives of the citizens that they don't live anywhere around. And that's how this world is now. Heck with everybody else and give it to me and you deal with it on the end. So you gotta fight it and you gotta pray about it. That's all it is. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, again, and the order that I saw them come in, area code 812-240-8795. If you're wanting to make a public comment, please give me your first name, last name, your organization if you represent one, and your city and county of residence, please.
Hello, my name is Lois Thor. Live in Vigo County, Terre Haute, Indiana. I'm a member of the Concerned Citizens Against Wabash Valley Resources. And I just have a couple comments, please. If you're setting up guidelines, what is your thought on the guidelines of how close the pipelines can come and the kill zone to our schools? There is Baynet Elementary School and the school in Rulemaking County. Now, these are in kill zones for these elementary children. Also, I have another question. The state of Illinois has set up laws or guidelines where you cannot drill through the aquifer. Since the aquifer runs through Indiana and Illinois, what's the consequences of drilling in the Indiana side? Was CO2 going to leak over to the Illinois side? Because the people from Wabash Valley Resources kind of acted like, since there are lines on the map, that won't cross the line.
and we all know since Peabody blasted so much in there, people lost their wells. When you put stuff in the earth, it goes someplace. If it goes in, it's going to come out. And that's my comment. I know you guys are going to make the right decisions, listen to the people of the community. We are fighting for our lives, our children's lives, and generations to come without putting this toxin into the ground. Thank you so much and have a blessed day.
Thank you. Okay, the next person I saw come in was area code 812-249-5214. If you're wanting to make a public comment, please give me your first and last name, your organization if you represent one, and your city and county of residence, please.
My name is Jack Falls. I live in Rulemaking County. And I live like a quarter of a mile from where they're planning on putting this so-called well in. We've got 99.6 acres, and the plume is going to go under my property. I have deer, pheasants, rabbits, and I have 2 ponds that I fish in them. My grandkids come over here and fish. We have, regular get-togethers here on my property. And I'm afraid to death that something's going to happen. If you've done any research, you found where the pipeline was ruptured, how it blows, killed people. Yes, killed people and livestock. And I'm like everybody else. And there's a risk that they can contaminate the water. What's going to happen when it contaminates water? They say, oh, it won't do that. Well, it's so close. I can't believe it won't. But it's Oxford is so large, there'll be no Terre Haute. There'll be no Vigo County. And, why don't people wake up? Stuff turns to acid. It eats away at the pipe. It might not leak today. It may leak next week, a month down the road. But I can almost guarantee you it is going to leak the pipe. I can't believe they're going to pump all this stuff in the ground. It's going to come underneath my property. There's a darn thing I can do about it. But I hope you make a good decision. I love my animals, my wildlife. And please, I bought this place to retire in, and I'd like to leave it like it is without having to worry about peeking my head out the door to for some mushroom cloudbirds or, running to try to save my kids. So, okay, I said enough. I hope you do make a wise decision and think about the people around here. Wabash Valley speaking about their place. If their mouths are moving, they're lying. Talk about the science. We have science that shows and proves what happens. So just use a little common sense, and we hope you guys will back us up. And I'll be quiet now. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I still see people on who have called in, who are still muted. I called out, I think there's 3 people that I've called out already the numbers before. If you want to make a public comment, since you called in before 2, if you unmute yourself here pretty soon, I'll make sure you have an opportunity to comment at this meeting. I think we had one other comment from someone in person. Wanted to speak really quickly. And I will say that unless those people on the who have called in unmute themselves and comment on this will be the last comment for the day, we'll conclude after that. So if you want to take just a couple of minutes, please go ahead.
Not even that long. I just sat here. And, my name is Dave Turflinger. This rulemaking process covers the whole state, correct?
Yep.
Okay, so this is so important and so new. I would encourage the DNR, Natural Resources Commission, Alan Morrison, to have hearings all over the state. Okay, now I did ask a lawyer, and he says that we can't put this on the ballot. I don't know if that's true or not, but that would be my comment, that this is so important. you know, I haven't heard one positive comment today unless I missed it. I do wear hearing aids. I really would encourage, in the sense of fairness, to have hearings all over the state and find out where the people, because it affects everybody. I mean, if our water, our aquifers get contaminated, it affects us all. So thank you very much. I know it's been a long day. Be safe in your travels.
Thank you. And as I said, it's past 2 o'clock. I showed 2:07. I'm going to go ahead and consider this meeting as public hearing closed. Thank you everybody who's attended either virtually or in person. If you've come personally and you need to drive, please have a safe drive home. Thank you very much.